We were invited to come and speak in South Africa on the creation evolution issue. And we've had contact with Joshua Gilbert in South Africa for quite a number of years. I think it was in 1988 when he first contacted me. And we've talked, had exchanged emails and letters for a number of years. But one of the things that we have done just recently is to work together on a project of a book called Persuaded by the Evidence. And some of the people that we met on this trip were the people that we are participating in this book project. And the people that we stayed with in Pretoria on the way in South Africa were Dr. Hennie Mouton and his wife Ellison. And then he also had a fellow that went along with us to Kruger National Park. His name was Koos Van der Westhuyzen.
That's easy for you to say, Doug. He was a stitch, though.
Oh, he was fun, yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got to give
those are all good Afrikaans names, and what's interesting is that we found ourselves in sort of like a bilingual family here, and they talked in Afrikaans most of the time, and talked to us in English, and it was just a different experience to be able to enjoy their hospitality and their presence, and find out what life was like in South Africa.
Now, this is the second part of the leg of our trip. We of course, we talked about before, we'd actually stayed in England for a few days and talked about the heritage, the Christian heritage of England. There's quite a bit of that also in South Africa, but there's also, of course, a lot of other various strains of influence in there. And it's very interesting to run into the Afrikaans. There's which is more the Dutch. Then there's the British. Of course, there's the Zulu and the African, the native peoples that were there. And of course, when we went over to Durban, it was India, and a lot of people from India were there. And so there's all these different strains in South Africa. In some respects, Doug, it seemed to me like South Africa was reminding me of the United States in a lot of respects. It was very Western, very American in a lot of sensibilities, but there were certain differences, weren't there, Doug?
Yeah, like one sign I saw on apartment complex, no hooting allowed. I was wondering what was that, and apparently there are a lot of people that party and make noise, and that's what they call it. And then when we were going down the highway, there were signs every once in a while that says hijack area, and you sort of wonder about that. And I guess what happens is that it actually becomes very dangerous to travel at night, because people will roll tires out in the middle of the road and you'll wreck your car, and then they'll come and rob you, and it's a bad situation. And actually, there is quite a bit of differences in classes of people. There's we saw quite a bit of different areas where the people just put up shacks to live in. And
it was kind of sad. It was interesting that Hennie had been he lived in a pretty good neighborhood, but he'd been broken into several times.
Right.
So there's a lot of they're going to be working some things out in their country. They're going to have a lot of we've had to work through it. There's a lot of racist issues and things of that nature. We've talked about a lot of the origin of racism, which really kind of, or not say the origin of racism, for instance, but the origin of that term in the way it was used. It really is a Darwinian concept, and there's a lot of. It's interesting. There is a Christian base in this country, but the leadership, it seems to be, well, I hate to use the term, but hell-bent, the same way our leadership seems to be, to get us off of the Christian standard and into everything else. And to me, I mean, I say hell-bent, I mean that in the literal sense of the word, not in the colloquial. So they're running into a lot of that stuff, but they're working things out. It was kind of amazing, Doug. We ran into just a lot of different wonderful people there. And Hennie and Koos's place of business, we were actually able to speak. You'd say, was it 3 times we were there?
I think we spoke there 3 times.
And then we also interviewed many, many people. This is a military, right, Doug? It was a military defense defense type of
Company, yeah.
a company. They made missiles and stuff of that nature. And yet, these were real scientists. They were difference between historical science and operational science. They were in the operational science, and yet there was quite a bit of creation interest, Doug. I was kind of amazed about that.
One of the things I also noticed is that they're quite, with the new government in South Africa, they're interested in changing all the names. They're changing the name of Pretoria to Sewanee, and the Eastern Transvaal is now called Mpumalanga. So we're trying to learn these hard to pronounce names in South Africa that they're now changing them to reflect the new government that is black controlled, and that country is going through some upheaval, some real changes, and actually it's been peaceful. It's been a bit discomforting for a lot of the people that live there. And so I would say it's a lot better than it was under apartheid, but I guess there's always a culture shock.
They got to work some things with, just like we had to do in our civil rights stuff, and we're still working some stuff through. There's no doubt about it. What I found was amazing, Doug, is that I don't know if we going to have time to talk about our adventures in Durban at all, but it's like we talked to Joshua. It was interesting. He's Indian, and when we say Indian, now we're not talking about American Indian here. We're talking about Indian, the real Indians. And under apartheid, of course, because they were, well, not technically coloreds, they're Indians, they're ethnics or whatever. They were kind of out along with the blacks. Mm-hmm. But now the blacks are in power. They're still out. They still don't have it as easy as it's. But even saying that, they can go. You can travel to and fro. It's not, even though there are hijack areas for the most part. You could go and do what you wanted to. We had an amazing time, both in Pretoria and in Durban. Durban was incredible, though. I was just totally flabbergasted at the amount of interest in the creation. Of course, no small part to Joshua's labors. We spoke in 21 places in a little bit over a week. Okay, it was about a week and a day. We spoke 21 different places. In fact, there were 2 or 3 that we had to turn down the day we were leaving. They called up and says, we didn't get the newspaper advertisement till today, and they're going, So Lord willing, maybe someday we'll be able to stop back out there again. But it was just phenomenal, Doug. Both in the Centuria area and in the Pretoria or the Durban area, that we were able to do what we did. Doug and I just kind of we're doing this as a labor of love because we believe in the message. We think it's important to think with a biblical worldview first, not second or third or fourth. And this applies first to the house of God, the house of His people. We spoke at businesses and in a school, but most of the places we spoke at were churches, pastors' meetings, conferences, meetings. There were some Christian schools, Bible colleges. And, the Bible does say judgment begins at the house of the Lord. If we can't get our own act together and start thinking biblically to start with, how can we expect the world to go along with it? No wonder we're in so much trouble.
Well, let's talk about the highlight of our trip.
Well, why don't you talk about that? I don't know. There's a lot of highlights, Doug.
Well, for me, I guess it was Kruger National Park. Hennie and Koos took us to Kruger National Park, and it was quite a fascinating time for us because the first thing that we saw as we were crossing the bridge to go into the gate into Kruger Park were a couple of elephants, and there they were right there in the river, and so we drove up to the gate. And of course, you had to get out of your car and run down to the bridge to see the elephants.
I wasn't running. I was kind of leisurely making my way over there.
Well, you made your way over there,
Pretty
but
good.
Faster than what I wanted.
Yeah,
to do.
that's true. He was behind me.
And when I got to the point where I saw I was filming the elephants too, but when I saw the one elephant turn around and look at me, and I saw there was about 100 yards between me and the elephant and about 300 yards between me and the car, I said, if the elephant decides to be belligerent, I'm in real trouble here.
I was closer to him than you
Oh,
were.
you were a fool.
Yeah, I was right up. Be careful when you call a man a fool. Remember that.
I mean that in the most
Yeah.
lovingly sense.
I was foolish, I'll tell you. But I
yes.
had some great shots. I was right above them, and yet they, it's funny. They are deceptive. Although we were there, we got shots of the elephants at the first. We didn't even get in the park, and there they
Right.
were. And there was a hyena at night walking right alongside the road. I didn't get any film footage of that, but we did get footage of baboons and monkeys, and we found out that a hippo. We got this one great. The hippos are not always that easy to see, but we got a lot of
there we go.
shots of good footage of the
He's
hippos.
going under now.
Come on, you guys.
Come on back out, man. My camera wasn't working right. Ah, that one just sitting there, though.
Try your sound again.
Oh, he's coming. Yeah.
Duck. That one.
He's coming back out. Maybe. Oh, there he goes. I don't want to see his mouth come up like he did just a second ago.
I missed all.
He's gonna open his mouth again.
He's gonna
Just
come
watch.
up. I think he's gonna.
That's it. Come on. Now.
Come on. Oh, he's getting his snout up. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just teasing us. He's just teasing us.
That's it. No.
Yes. No.
Oh, not quite. You think he's gonna, but then he doesn't.
There's crocodiles.
This
Where?
crocodiles, where are they at?
Come here. Let me show you.
Okay, hang on.
That one is with his mouth open.
You knew
Is
the
that one right there? There's a
crocodile.
crocodile right there? I think that's him right there. Yeah, there's the one. That's the ones we had before, but they opened their mouth. Well, the croc at least gave us a show.
Yeah.
Well, so did the other one, but he just did it too fast.
Yeah, one can get these little birds that go into the mouth of the croc, cleaning its teeth.
Yes, that would be interesting.
But you can see the teeth quite well of that one, eh?
Yes, you can. Of that croc, you mean?
Yeah,
Big,
the croc,
that's
yeah.
a big croc. That was about
Yeah,
long.
we
That
can
was
very
longer than
well.
the hippo. It's in the water right to the right of him.
Is it? What's the white spot on this hippo? That's not a small bird on this hippo, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it is.
No, it's a tooth.
Tooth.
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
It's a tooth.
There it is, yeah. Just a little white triangle sticking out of the water.
What, these front ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
it
you
sure
go.
is. Yep, that's a tooth.
There's the other one as well on the other side.
I always thought their tooth were like I always draw them with these little peg-looking like teeth, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, that tooth can go right through a man.
Wow.
There's another hippo. Now, what was fascinating, Rich, was that we stayed in a place called Skakuza, and
I am so glad you remember all those names, Doug.
Skakuza was a neat place, and it was in our cottage that we were stayed in. There was actually two different round huts that were connected together with a kitchen.
Right.
In the middle of
Really
it.
cool.
And then there was a dining area outside called the Lapa, and that's also a thatched roof round dining area. And then they would we had ostrich cooked on the braai.
Yeah.
And,
The barbecue, basically. Yeah.
and I can't roll my R's. You'll have to do that.
Braai.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
way they say it. And it's the barbecue that they used to cook things. They also had a little piece of dough or something that they cooked on the. They grilled it on. It was a piece of bread actually.
Right. Yeah.
And they would grill it on the braai, and then they would split it and put chutney on it, and then on the chutney they'd put cheese, and
Yeah.
that was a different combination.
Yeah.
I kind of like
You
that.
kind of
That
like
was,
that. Yeah.
I
we had a lot of
I
stuff.
liked all the. Of course, they also had the dried food that they had. It was sort of like a traditional Voortrekker type of
Yeah.
meal that they would have for breakfast. You know, they had the dried meats and then the dried biscuits and everything, and that'd be for breakfast. It was great.
It was very strange about the food. I felt like the Afrikaans food was actually a little more different than the Indian food for me. The Indian food was actually I liked the Afrikaans food, but I love the Indian food.
This is
I really did.
typical breakfast. It comes from the days when our forefathers had to travel inland by ox wagon, and they needed some food that will stay fresh for long times in the heat. And it's basically all dried food. It's dried meat, and it is a baked biscuit which you call a rusk. It's also dry, and you dip it in your coffee and you eat it with the dried meat.
We tell the story, the funny story of Koos, who was a short, stocky guy, just a wonderful, wonderful human, and we're trying to figure out the identity of these birds, and he says, I think that's called a wedding band. And then later on he goes, I was mistaken. It is not a wedding band. It is a what's the name of the
Lilac-breasted.
I guess a lilac-breasted roller. And you got to get that R the way Koos did it, because he just and we were laughing about that whole thing because he was just so. That was probably one of the good stories. That and the impala. You want to tell us the impala story, Doug? That's funny.
Oh yeah, the first time. They were telling us that it was a fairly a rare sight because they only came out at night to see the impala.
You're
Very lucky to see them.
Yeah, you don't
Wat
see
jy
them
ons
very
afspeel
often.
hoor.
Okay, yes.
We're informed that we don't see these very often. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And now we've seen a herd of them, and here's another one grazing in the grass.
By our third and fourth herd, we sort of figured out that we've been had, that Hennie and Koos were just putting us on. And they said this is actually called Impala National Park.
Yeah, that was Koos. Yeah, there's so many. There are 110,000 of them in the park.
Yeah, I said, okay, You never see these. Here's some more.
Now later on, we saw a wild dog, and they said the same thing, that it was really rare. And I'm going, burn me once. I don't know. And they go, no, but this time it was true. There's only
400 of them in the park.
Yeah, there's like 40 of them in the park.
400.
Really? There is another one. No, what is that? That's a wild dog? Look at those. Oh, man, that's a great shot of that guy. Oh, yeah, look at... Oh, now he's going back in the bush.
But, you get the idea that from these parks that evolution is happening all around you. Did you see any evolution happening, Rich?
Well, no, but I did see what what is Tennyson's poem, Nature Red in Tooth and Claw? I think it's Tennyson. I'm not sure, but one of the poet. But that's the evolutionist battle cry. We did see a lion kill. The problem comes, and again, why did we go here? We had a great time with Kruger National Park. We had tremendous success in the speaking, but you look at a world that's fallen. But even in its fallen state, it's still beautiful. There's a lot of things to see that are amazing. You could see the creator in a place like Kruger National Park. But I see it when I see people too. When I look at people, all the different kinds of people that we are. But I also see we are living in a fallen world. That's why we have corruption and people who steal and lie. That's why we have lions killing giraffes. And we had a giraffe. It was right. They were less than 30 feet away from the road. There was a big lion kill. There was, I guess, at one time, there were 13 of them laying around. We didn't get there till the next day afterward.
He says, "Oh yes, giraffe tastes like chicken."
The idea is that because we see death in here, it reminds me, Doug, that someday that's not going to happen. The lion shall lie down with the lamb.
Right.
We will have. The adder won't be poisoning us, But that also tells me we might be able to see some of the glimpses of God's creation in the new age, in the new kingdom to come. I don't know whether all dogs get to heaven, but I'd like to think that maybe a few of them do.
I sort of wonder about if God's going to resurrect all the mosquitoes, but
Yeah, but they won't suck blood. You know, just like
That's been a question, you know. But
I know.
but the interesting thing, we saw the giraffe kill, and we were talking to some people who said that there were as many as 13 lions at the giraffe kill the day before, and that must have been quite an interesting thing to see them take down the giraffe if that was actually happening that day.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you Doug hear whether anybody actually saw them catch the giraffe, and did they get in action or not? I know that many people saw it right after it, but I wasn't sure if anybody had seen them actually kill the giraffe. But man, that close to the road is very rare. You don't see that very often. But it was quite exciting. Now we did get a glimpse. The male lion was really kind of in the brush. You can see him. You can see him here. So you can see him. He's kind of in the brush, and the grass and the mane kind of camouflage a little bit. But if you look at it, you can see it close, and you get a little bit of glimpse there. But now the next guy that's like a juvenile. He's really not a cub anymore. He's really more of a juvenile. He puts on, doesn't he, Doug?
Yeah, he certainly did.
I mean, he stretches his mouth out. He ate some of it. And I tell you what, though, some of that stench of that giraffe, ooh, man. That wind would waft it over and into our area for a while, and it was like I don't know. That was a little ripe, you know. You talking about the
No, there was a spot we also stopped at. I think the name of it was called Nakula, and it was where we saw the crocodile in the river.
Oh, right.
And it was just sitting there. The river was going on by. It's probably waiting for something to drop from the trees, but what was in the trees was really a lot of fun also, because they were full of monkeys. And
yeah, they were evolving into humans even as we were watching. No, I tell you, some of them they take on some human trait, at least the thievery part. They stole stuff. This guy stole this one guy's sandwich right out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. And you could.
So fast.
Yeah, you didn't want to really eat your lunch on the picnic table in this particular case, because the monkeys were really after you. And the baboons also, I guess that if they can be dangerous and real
Yeah, in the
pest.
park they have it like some kind of a disease or something. You can see that. It's like kind of like a growth or something.
Cancer, yeah.
Cancerous kind of thing. A lot of them were infected, and they don't know what's going on with that. But the cool thing is getting back to, remember that hippos we talked about earlier, we had this whole like lake or like with
Yeah,
crocs
so the
and
place
hippos.
where the Sabi River was dammed up.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah,
And warthogs.
There's another warthog's coming from the right. One
look
is
at that
charging.
one. Oh, I got that. Oh, he's chasing him.
He's
Oh, look at him
chasing the
go.
small one. Oh no!
Oh, that is great. Look at that. Oh man, look at him. They're putting on quite a show now. Look at him. Oh man, chased him.
He's chasing the babies.
He's chasing the babies.
Are you sure those are babies? Maybe
Yes.
they're. Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Look at them.
I've never seen that.
And so there was a lot of creatures at that spot that you wouldn't want to mess with, and you wouldn't want to get out of your car.
Not even the warthog will gore you. They'll
they're not
run after you.
not that much of a friendly type of creature. We saw all kinds of birds and things like that too. And
I tell you, Doug, you talk about the creature. You know, we get back to the creation message. I think of like they're either antagonistic toward human, or they're afraid of us in this park. It's so it's like so much you just ache to come back to the longing that they must have had, even shortly after the Noah's Ark, when the animals got off the ark. There was that period of time when they were not dangerous to humans for a while. There must have been then, but it didn't last very long apparently, because pretty soon the lions were killing people, and I know that.
Well, speaking of the ark, and two giraffes sticking with the head sticking out, like we always talk about.
Oh yeah, I know.
We saw a few of those on this trip as well. And
We didn't see any zebras though.
Yeah,
we missed the zebras. They said they were everywhere, but we didn't see them. But we saw the wild dog.
And I think the most magnificent animal that we saw in the park was the kudu. And
That was
And there was a couple of them right up next to the car, and one of them was you could almost reach out and touch these.
Yeah, they're very close,
animals,
and they're not too common.
Yeah, it was a very nice experience to see the kudu.
Also, the wild, the Cape buffalo.
Oh yes,
That was a magnificent animal.
Yeah, they talk about the big five, the big five creatures: the elephant, the lion, the Cape buffalo, And then the ones we didn't see was the leopard.
The leopard,
and
the zebra.
no,
Oh, no, not the zebra. What was the other one? Rhino.
Rhino,
The
yeah.
rhino. Yeah, we didn't see any rhino. Yeah.
But you know, they were telling a story that you know, sort of broke my heart a little bit, because apparently they lead hikes out in the Kruger Park, and they have people that take the guns along with them to
Right.
protect you, you know. And I guess they came upon a mother rhino and its baby, and of course the rhino charged, and they had to shoot the rhino that was charging, and of course the baby was squealing and screaming all over the place.
I know.
And you know, it was I guess that particular experience really affected the person who went on this trek and was telling the story, because they were just devastated by that particular
Well,
experience.
especially when you hear about the suffering of the rhino. I mean, the slaughter of the rhinos is just
Oh
it's
yeah,
just,
it's bad.
outrageous.
We did see see a video on that while we were
Ugh.
there, and you know,
They
the
kill them just
poaching
to cut their horn off, to use them as aphrodisiacs in a lot of Asian countries. I go, gee, it's just disgusting, when you think about that magnificent animal just being, almost on the border of extinction because of this kind of foolish.
Well, Rich,
Running out of time.
we'll see you next time on Revolution Against Evolution, and we enjoyed our time in
It was
South Africa.
great.